Welcome everyone to the series of lecture on LangGraph, and I'm extremely excited to start this series because this is not a discussion about just any other framework. This is the need of the time. Everyone today want to build, integrate LLM intelligence into real production system, right? Everyone wants to make AI agents. And without some powerful framework like LangGraph, you cannot do it. You can just keep on playing with some of the automated system or the processes, but you will never have an intelligent process. Even you will have intelligence with the help of large language model, you will never have an intelligent processes or an intelligent AI agenting system. And therefore, the need of R is to understand a framework which is intelligent enough to incorporate or respect the intelligence of large language model. Okay, so with that, let's first of all understand the real world problem. What is the problem? If you can simply wants to create a process, a workflow, or a AI agent with just incorporating some large language model like OpenAI. The problem is in the real world, every firm has processes, your workplace has workflows, uh, your business might have some processes, but the problem is that they are not simple. They are multi steps. You need different tools to perform different tasks. You have to take certain decision. If this will happen, then you will do this. If that will happen, you will do that. You have to perform control decisions. You need memory. You need historical data to make or to take certain decision. Now, what is expected from you? Hey, take these processes, incorporate the intelligence using LLM, and make a smarter and reliable processes. Absurd. That is the expectation, but that is an absurd expectation. The reason is just incorporating LLMs in the system is not going to make your process intelligence. That's period. I challenge that. This is going to make your process chaotic. That is going to make your process unpredictable. If you really want to incorporate intelligence of LLM, you need a intelligent framework, and that framework is LangGraph. The problem that people are not understanding, that they do not understand how the large language models are built. Number one, so it is important that you watch the series of videos on how the large language models are built. Even the first 4 5 videos are powerful, but they also don't understand the limitation of large language model. For example, if I say LLMs are stateless, what does that mean? See, LLM are intelligent, I'm not challenging that, no doubt about it, but they do not understand your process. They never meant to understand your process. They don't know what processes or workflow you are building. What is the concept of steps in the process, and what are the steps there are in your process? What the overall system of the process look like? It doesn't have those information, and what you do, you try to implement LLM in pieces somewhere in the process. Please understand, from their perspective, the LLM only understand input and it throws an output. That's it. It doesn't understand your process. So if you just start building system or process by just plugging LLM APIs, for example, OpenAI API into your process without thinking deeply about your structure, your system will break for sure, 100%. I'm not saying maybe it will break, it will break. And understand why. Because LLM do not understand the concept of control workflow or control over workflow. It cannot do if this happens, do this. If it fails, retry. If condition changes, then please branch into something else. If needed, please go into the loop. If fails, yes, please again retry. They do not know your logic. They do not understand your process logic. There is no concept of state. State. This is a complex concept. There is no concept of state in LLM, which means, am I in step one of the workflow, or in step two, or in step three, or in step four? Where am I? It doesn't understand that. Where I am in the process, LLM cannot answer that because it's your process. It doesn't have the concept of persistence, very similar. Step one done, step two done, step three fails. Okay, please run the process. LLM will restart the process from step one because there is no concept of resume if you fail in LLM. You have to teach it. There is no concept of persistence. There's no concept of observability. There is no concept of observability. When failure happens, you don't know where, you don't know why, and you cannot inspect the reason easily if you just implemented LLM and say, okay, it can understand it, where it fails, why it fails. So debugging exercise becomes a guessing exercise, which most of you do. So what is the point incorporating LLM in your processes? So understand this very clearly. LLM are intelligent. I'm not challenging that, but they are not designed to manage process. At least till now, they're not designed to manage the process. They're trying to use, and what you're doing, I'm repeating, LLM are intelligent. There's no doubt about it, but they are not designed to manage your process. And what you're trying to use them to run a process that you understand. A complete mismatch. Wrong expectation from LLMs. This is where you need LangGraph. This is where you need LangGraph. LangGraph introduced a very powerful idea, and I think it at this point it doesn't make sense to you, but it incorporates the idea of graph. What it does, whatever complex workflow you have, whatever kind of complex workflow you have, it will break your workflow into the concept of nodes, edges, and state. And you will see in this series of lecture that how these concepts are so powerful that it makes your process really intelligent process. It makes a structure intelligent process. But understand that what LLM lacks. LLM lacks the capability of control over the workflow. It doesn't have the concept of statefulness. It is stateless. It doesn't have the concept of persistence. It doesn't have the concept of observability. So, what LangGraph is offering you, it offers multiple capabilities. I have just written 4 to 5 capability, but it offers multiple capabilities. First of all, the most important one is it gives you the control over your process. It says, okay, there is a condition. If this will happen, you have to perform this. If that will happen, you will perform this. If nothing happens, you perform that. You can have the control with the help of LangGraph. Okay, you need loops. You can implement it with the help of LangGraph. Process failed, you need to retry. Yes, I'll provide you everything. That is what LangGraph is stating when it is providing you the control of your workflow. How? We'll see in this series of lecture. Second, LangGraph introduce a very powerful concept. This concept is also not there in LangChain. The concept of statefulness. The system understand where I am right now. Step one, step two, step three, where I am. Third, persistence. Persistence and memory are two different concepts we'll understand in the series of lecture. But in a very simple term, if I make you understand what persistence does, what is the power, what is the capability in your process get embedded with the help of persistence is that, okay, the system fails at step three and step one, step two has been performed properly. No problem. When you resume, it will start from step three, not from step one. It understands that it failed in step three, not in step one. Last, it makes debugging very simple. You can trace where it actually failed. You can inspect the state and you identify exact failure points with the help of LangGraph. And you also have the concept of memory, which makes your responses more intelligent. There is a concept of short-term memory and long-term memory. When I say short-term memory, please understand right now, it is saying you're making your conversation smarter. When I say long-term memory, it is making the understanding of the user smarter in your process. So all these capability, doesn't it sound like intelligent capability in your process? So you need a framework which is intelligent enough to respect the capability of an intelligent system that is the LLM. What you're saying? You're saying, okay, I have a process. This is a dumb process. Please take this LLM and become an intelligent process. It doesn't work like that. You need a framework. There's a process. First, put a framework around that process. Now embed large language model, then you will have an intelligent process. A dumb process with LLM is chaos. You cannot control it. It is going to be unpredictable. I'm challenging you. You cannot make a process predictable with the help of a dumb process or a dumb framework with LLM. It never happens. Never happened with me. Okay, perfect. So I'm trying to make it slightly intuitive. Without land graph, in a very simple term, step one, step two, step three fail. If you restart, LLM is not intelligent. It will start again from step one because it is intelligent, but it is not intelligent with your dumb process. With land graph, step one, step two, step three fails. Step three fails or node three fail. It will restart, but it will restart from step three, not step two, because step one, step two performed properly. Because the system understand where it stands. What is the state of the system? That's a difference. Okay, with a very simple example, I try to explain that how the system becomes smarter and intelligent without a lot of glue code or unnecessary code because everything is embedded in the land graph. You don't have to write codes. You just have to use important modules, classes from land graph, and all these capabilities get implemented in a process in one single line rather than writing multiple intelligent 100 lines of code in your system. You can just simply use LangGraph and you will have the understanding of statefulness, you will have the understanding of persistence, you will have the understanding of proper debugging, you will have the understanding of memory. It's all embedded, all the concepts are there in LangGraph to make your process intelligent. Now, some intelligent people might say, okay, why you cannot use LangChain? There we have LangChain, you can use it. Okay, if you have studied LangChain, then it is a very good thing. You should have studied LangChain by now, but if you haven't, then yes, LangChain is useful. It gives you the capability of LLM integration, a very smooth LLM integration. They have very good modules for that. It also gives you the capability to use desired tool whenever you want. But it gives you the capability of chain and creating simple chain or simple workflow. What it means that if your workflow is like this, if your workflow is like step one, go to step two, go to step three, go to step four, please use LangChain. If it is a simple workflow, it is a linear workflow, use LangChain, period. But if it is a complex workflow, that from a step two, you can go to step four if this conditions satisfy, or you can simply exit the process if another condition satisfy, or you might have to go into the loop between S3 and S4 for say 20 rounds because certain condition has not been satisfied. For these complex workflow, LangChain will not work. It also doesn't have the capability of, I won't say doesn't have, it has weak persistence capability. It has a very weak state management. It doesn't have a powerful state management. Yes, you can have a lot of unnecessary code and make it a very good stateful aware processes, but LangChain was never meant to provide those capability. It was not. It was just meant to provide you the capability of making simple linear workflow, a very basic level of persistence, or actually doesn't have a very good capability of persistence, and it doesn't have a very strong capability of statefulness or understanding of statefulness. So therefore you need LangGraph if you really want to make a very complex process into an agentic process, a multi-agent process, then you need a land graph. It's not possible without land graph. You cannot just make it possible with LangChain. Yes, you can make it, but you have to write 100 and 1,000 lines of code. So understand this properly. LangChain gives you the building block components, but land graph gives you the control over all the components. So basically, they're complementary. They are not like if you use LangChain, you cannot use LangGraph. They complement each other. And actually, you should be using LangGraph, and a lot of LangGraph models are directly dependent upon LangChain itself. So you should use LangGraph whenever you have multi-step and complex workflow, where your decisions are dynamic. It is not step one, step two, step three, step four. It could be anything where you need retries, where you need the concept of loops. If the process fails or if certain condition doesn't get satisfied, then you should be using LangGraph framework. If the system is a long R process, it's a very long R process. You need intervention of human in the loop is required. You should be using LangGraph. And you want every failure to be recovered properly. Step one, step two worked, step three failed. So if you're resuming, then it should resume from step three. If you want these kind of capability, then you should be using LangGraph. So understand this. The problem was never the intelligence of large language model. They are really intelligent nowadays. The problem is that they don't understand your process. They don't understand where the control needed in your process, where the statefulness is needed in your process. So therefore, you need an intelligence framework like LangGraph to make your process intelligent, not dumb. So that's why we need LangGraph. So LangGraph exists because intelligence without structure will make your process chaotic, or you can say intelligence without structure is chaos. And land graphs gives you that structure, that control, that reliability. And with that, I hope I have given a sense of why you need land graph. I know you haven't understood a lot of concept of statefulness. You haven't understood the persistence. You haven't understood the memory. Don't worry about it. If you see and watch the series of lecture, we have talked about each and every concept in detail and the implementation of each one of them in detail. So with that, I'll pause here. Thank you. Have a nice day.